All right, everybody. I'm Al, and welcome to CiNEMACHiNE. I'm here with Brandon.
Ayo.
And Ryan.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm sure they said fine. So we are here for a special edition of CiNEMACHiNE. We all finally went back to the movie theaters to watch the much-anticipated movie, TENET. So we're going to give a full review. This is a little bit different episode. We're not going to do what we're watching right now, and we're not going to get into the news on this particular episode, but that's coming later in the week, so stay tuned for that. However, I do want to make sure that everybody knows that we would appreciate very much if you would like and subscribe this episode on all platforms that you possibly can and share it with your friends. Ryan, where can they do that best?
Yeah, so we're most active for CiNEMAChine on Instagram, and we love interacting with you guys. It's been pretty cool just the first few weeks to see different folks, reach out when we throw a story out there about being excited for the review that we've got coming up. And I mean, that's like we talked about, that's the whole point of this. We want to build a community around this and talk to you guys and get you guys involved in the show. So it's at CiNEMAChine Pod, and you can also find all the links to any of our other social channels at cinemachinepod.com.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And we have had some good back and forths on social media and in the YouTube comments. It's been a lot of fun. Shots fired at my opinions, and I'm fine with that. So rightfully so. Sure. Bring them on. We can take it. That's what this is all about, like Ryan was saying. So without further ado, let's talk about, first and foremost, going back to the movie theater. So Ryan, we went to a Regal theater here in Georgia. Not going to tell the exact theater because then people can kind of get our locations and stuff like that.
We don't need that. Paparazzi.
Oh my gosh. All 12 people. So I was just going to ask, like, what was it like? First off, do you remember the last movie you saw in the movie theater?
I think the last movie I saw was actually The Gentleman, which we'll be reviewing later in the week.
Okay.
And
Same.
Going back, it was really surprising, actually. I was expecting it not to be crowded, which it definitely was not.
Yeah.
But I was not expecting it to be just dead silent. Right. There's not a soul in the building. I was actually joking earlier today that it's probably the safest time that you could go to a movie because there's just nobody there.
That is probably safest and probably least, like, physically uncomfortable because sometimes you're packed in like sardines and things like that. So
yeah, at our theater, they every other row was blocked off, and then you had a couple seats. Every party had a couple seat buffer between the next.
And I'm sure it's tough for the people that plan this stuff out to figure out, oh my gosh, how do we do this, that, and the other. But I remember saying this on our last episode when I went to the box office to buy the tickets. So if you guys noticed, one person bought a ticket in the middle of the best aisle. Well, I thought we were further back, first off. So we went to see it on IMAX, and I bought tickets, thought they were further back, and we ended up being kind of in the movie. So, but one guy bought the one ticket in the middle, and the reason we were up so far, I figured it out after a while, because they cut off the row behind you and the row in front of you. So otherwise we would have been on near the back row. So I was trying to avoid that. So the guy got the middle seat, and therefore it was one guy, and they had to cut off 4 seats around him, 2 seats on either side of him. And then 3 seats down from him, another one person bought the ticket, and they cut off 2 seats, and it kept going. So I don't know if we got a head count or anything, but I would imagine there were probably 30 people.
Yeah, it was definitely not any more than 30 folks in there, which it's a big theater.
Yeah. So
and that was sold out.
Yeah, so, that was at capacity for the terms.
So they're definitely people. Yeah, any people who are nervous about going back to movies, I would encourage you to give it a try, and I think you'd be surprised by how well they're enforcing all the social distancing protocols, and obviously for us it was good just to get back out and start supporting theaters again.
Yeah, and I will say this as well for the other side of that, and I kind of mentioned this last week, but nobody was like within the lobby and outside of the actual theater. People were not policing us, but there were staff there to say put your mask on or whatever if somebody wasn't wearing a mask. But nobody was like hassling people during the movie or anything like that. It was just because you're in your own bubble. You're with the people you came with, and there's nobody else around you. So it's it's kind of like a restaurant situation where they cancel out every other table or whatever. So, Brandon, let's get your experience. How did you like going back to the theater? Did you enjoy it, or are you like, I'm a home movie watcher now?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say much more than you guys have already said. It was exciting to get back in the theater, and especially seeing a movie like this that was made for the theatrical experience, and on the biggest screen that we possibly could. That was close to us, and they'd actually just seemingly, since the last time I'd been to that theater, they'd renovated it, put new seating in, updated the sound system, updated the projector, the screen, everything. So it was nice. So I can't complain. I was very happy. I mean, our seat selection could have been a little bit better, but I had no control over that. So
I really didn't either. I mean, but
I'm just messing with you.
I guess drive yourself through the theater.
Oh, you mean go to Fandango?
Yeah, get all those fees.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you, Al. Thanks for making the trip over there.
You're welcome. I drove 15 minutes, so it's not a big deal. Yeah. So no, it was fun to go back to the theater. And I've been back 3 times already, which I told everybody about my going back to see Empire Strikes Back. And I'll talk about another movie I went to go see on our next episode. But right now, let's just go ahead and get into it. Tenet.
Let's do it.
Tenet. We've been waiting for some time now. Now, how long have they been advertising this movie? I would say over a year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Probably
For
well
sure.
over a year, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yep.
So most things that have Christopher Nolan's name attached to them, people have a groundswell. Whether they end up liking it or not, that's a different story, and we'll get into that in a minute. But this movie was extremely hyped. It was the movie to watch for the year, even before all the COVID happened. It was really the movie that I had marked on my calendar. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, besides the Snyder Cut of Justice League, but
That wasn't even a thing when this was announced, so I'm not even...
It was, Al. In our heads, it's been a thing
Al,
for 3 years.
it has existed. It exists, okay?
Oh, God.
We don't have to get into that.
Anyways.
All right, let's... Jeez. So anyway...
Tune into Cape Cod.
Good Lord. Yeah.
This movie was the cerebral of Christopher Nolan type.
I have a question
movies.
real quick before we get into this. Are we going to do like a little like non-spoilery discussion for people?
Yeah, let's just
or
kind
are
of
we
talk
just-
about how we feel about
since
it.
there's like a limited amount of people that can see it.
Yeah.
Just, give brief
So
thoughts.
that's a valid...
Normally we wouldn't. We jump right into it, but I think it
Yeah,
might
being that this
prove
is such a
beneficial.
Sure.
large thing, we kind of talked about this last night, but yeah, it's a valid point, Brandon. So we'll just kind of chit-chat about our overall feelings about the movie, how we, received it, things of that nature, and then we will get into spoiler talks and kind of break down the movie as much as we possibly can. So, mind you, we've only seen it once, and as you'll hear
And
later...
as Al says, if you see it once, you should be able to tell how good it is.
Well, we'll get into that. All right, so Brandon, your initial thoughts of this movie
My initial thoughts.
by Brandon.
I think the first thing I said after it was over was, What?
Explain it, Daddy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed
Right.
being back in the theater. I enjoyed the spectacle. As far as everything on a technical level. We'll get into some like
He enjoyed the Advil
things
after.
that
Yeah. So
it's I feel like it is without getting into specifics, it is a movie that kind of demands repeat viewings to fully understand.
Definitely.
Fully understand kind of the plot devices at hand and I guess the rules that they are building. So I don't know how I feel about it after one viewing.
it's like a first date.
Yeah,
no, she was
I-
all right.
On this review.
I think this is going to be more of a kind of a for me at least, going to be more of a kind of walking back through it and working it out as I go along and kind of making my decision up as we talk.
Brandon's starting his college course on this movie, so break it down. Every year he learns something new himself.
Mm-hmm.
No, I totally get what you're saying. Ryan, what was your initial thoughts?
I was kind of in the same boat as Brandon. I think I said when we got out that I think because we all three of us, I think we saw Dunkirk together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting out of that movie and just kind of like it was all right, but it didn't have any of the like kind of twisty,
Yeah, I really enjoyed Dunkirk. I don't think either one of you were as high on Dunkirk as I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was like
No, I didn't think it was a bad movie. I just think it lacked that like signature,
yeah.
Christopher Nolan type deal. And I got out of this movie and I told Brandon I think Christopher Nolan was probably behind us after we got out of that last movie and said, "I'll show you confusing."
So, I liked Dunkirk. I liked how much you felt like you were in those positions, like you were there with those soldiers and things like that. That's what I liked about that movie. So.
Yeah, I mean, all of his movies, like technically, all of his movies are. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, he is the most organized, if nothing else. Like there.
And all the practical stuff that he does just makes.
Can you imagine how clean his house is? I bet he only has like white everything, like nothing. There's nothing out of place.
Can you imagine how clean? I'm
just saying,
Yeah.
he sounds like he's OCD, like crazy, like.
Well, he
Attention to
he
detail.
directs in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
So
Which I think that's
It's like-
cool.
Yeah, no chairs on his sets.
yeah.
I think that's
Did you
I
guys
think
see
that's
that
pretty
earlier?
cool.
He doesn't have a cell phone, no email address. Yeah.
Like it.
Right.
I like it.
So,
yeah,
but no, I enjoyed it. It was the visuals were awesome. I loved the inversion mechanisms.
yeah.
Those were cool.
What'd you think about the dialogue?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
one of the
that-
first
I
things
mean-
you said. That's right.
Yeah, it for whatever reason he just seems to have that issue.
Well, he wrote this one all
with-
by himself, so he didn't have the help of his brother or anybody. So
Well, it's not even necessarily like the dialogue itself. It's the masks, like the Bane
I
issue in Dark Knight Rises.
yeah,
Where
that doesn't bother
like
me.
sometimes I'm just like, what did they say? Like I don't know. I don't know if you guys felt that way at all when you were watching it, but there were
I didn't, but we'll
some moments.
we'll get
where-
into that as well. My brief of this movie is I thought it was fun to be back in the theater. I thought it was fun to be there with people enjoying a movie again, and it was, we just recently started this podcast, so it was fun for this to be the first movie we got to go see in theaters. So I think it was momentous in that respect, So
Oh yeah.
I really,
You couldn't have asked for a better
Yeah, I don't-
movie to return.
I don't think
to.
so because we were getting kind of thin on what was going to be released in theaters. So yeah, I enjoyed it from that respect, and I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the technical aspects. I think one of the first things I said was that and I know this is probably too soon or whatever, but I said I think we found the new Black Panther right there, John David Washington. So
he was stellar.
He's good, and he's good in Black Klansman as well. So I enjoyed the acting, and that's...
This was the first movie I had seen him in at all. Like,
Really?
I might not disagree with y'all on that one, but we can get back to
Really?
it. I thought that he was probably the worst thing about the movie.
I didn't say he was the best
We can
thing in
get
the
to it.
movie. I just said he was good. He's got charisma.
I think the apple fell pretty far from the tree with that one, but we can get into that later.
Yeah, they have.
In terms of his dad.
Yeah, I'm not a
Who's his dad?
Denzel Washington.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
you can kind of tell in the
gosh.
cadence of his. of
You're on a
his
movie
speech.
podcast.
This is like we were just talking. Samara Weaving. We were talking about last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're gonna put a marker right here, and we're just gonna go ahead and talk about spoilers. So we're gonna put a marker and a graphic up right here, and we'll also put up when you can fast forward to for past the spoilers. So here's your warning. All right, this is where spoilers start. You've been warned. We've given you fair warning, so do not point the finger at us if you're dumb enough to listen past this if you haven't seen the movie. So,
And if you are going to point a finger, point it at Al.
sure, because I'm not going to look at it.
Yes.
Um,
Please
I don't care
indicate
about
in the
your
comments below where your finger is pointing.
yeah, the ginger.
My finger points.
Yeah. So, all right. So who wants to start the spoiler talk? Ryan, let's start with you. Let's see what you said you were a little confused. It was the cerebral of the cerebral of the cerebral, I think you said a while ago.
So and if anybody has seen I guess at this point you've seen the movie since we're got past the spoiler part,
Mhm.
but the inversion concept was super cool to me. I loved how the first scene where I guess technically it's the second scene, but the scene where he's being shown how it works in that little I don't know, firing range area
With the big rock, yeah.
Yeah. And she's got the bullet out on the table and it's like spinning and all this cool stuff. I loved all those moments in the movie where the inversion concept was contained. So whether it was whether it was the fights in the hallway, whether it was the backwards the car chase scene, the scene where John David Washington walks outside. We call him protagonist, I guess, because that's his character's name. But he walks outside after inverting, and the steam's going back into the sewer, and everything. The birds are flying backwards, and him getting used to the reverse friction in the car when he's driving. I thought all that stuff was awesome and super creative, but where it kind of went off the rails for me was like the end battle scene out where they're I guess it was an old Soviet town or something. Yeah. And there's soldiers going forward, soldiers going backwards, ammunition exploding, unexploding, and I felt like the inversion concept is better illustrated in more of a controlled way, I guess.
Okay.
It just felt, the last scene kind of just felt chaotic to me. And it led to, and it's a movie that is not, going back afterwards and talking to Katie about it, I got the movie as I was watching it, but I think those types of scenes led me to believe that there was like stuff I was missing, because I just felt like when I was watching that scene where I was just, I was like, what are the people running forward trying to do? What are the people running backward trying to do?
That's kind of where I wonder if a lot of that is lost in exposition that's buried in the mix that you don't really get, or at least for me. With me, if the audio is discernible and it's in a British dialect, it's super hard for me to
Now,
follow.
I want to say this. Brandon has told me in the past that he has to turn on subtitles for British British movies.
I have to.
And I think that's one of the funniest things.
They don't talk like
I will not follow it otherwise. It is like a different
And
tongue
I'm not saying that's
entirely.
I just think that is one of the funniest things because
of all the accents in the world.
yeah, it's one of the easiest. But I mean, not everybody has. It's not like you have to have an ear for it or whatever. It's just a matter of whatever. But I've just always thought that was one of the funniest things. So go ahead, Brandon. I just wanted to highlight that you have said that before.
Well, yeah. I mean, so that was going against me. I'm not saying that was Ryan's reasons for not following it, but me personally, I feel like if I could go back, I even thought about trying to see if I could find a theater that had closed captioning that I could go and watch this.
You're gonna go to like a deaf screening, like to where
you're right. Yeah, exactly.
Hearing impaired screening.
He really gets around really well.
Yeah, well, deaf people can get around, right?
You know what I mean. I'm ignorant
He's
here,
not
all right?
deaf in his legs.
So yeah, so that was going against me.
Canceled.
And I also feel like they play kind of fast and loose with a little bit of the rules that they set up, and they also don't. I feel like you're playing catch up a lot, trying to like keep up with what's happening and figure things out as it's unfolding. Which I guess is not necessarily a bad thing, but that's like at the end whenever they have like the blue team going in reverse and the red team going forward, and then Pattinson's character is like
Neil
switching teams back and forth.
Yeah.
And how is he even doing that? Like I was under the understanding that the only way you could like move yourself into like a reverse direction is going through one of those little turnstile machines, but it seems like maybe there's another way that you can do it that I wasn't even privy to. But just stuff like that I was like, what is happening
in general? I think one of the issues I had with it was the exposition beforehand, where Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is explaining what they're doing. And he's just got like a diagram of the area up on there, and he like throws a couple of lines up on the whiteboard and starts talking about a pincer attack or pincer attack.
Yeah, I mean,
do I?
That's what it's called, a pincer move or something.
Yeah,
like that.
that's so. The there are things in this movie I think that you can pick up from a second viewing. Now, in full disclosure, Katie, Ryan's wife, went to the movie with us. She was in our party of 4, and the first thing that she and I both said was, that wasn't hard to follow. And it's not to say that the next time I see it I won't pick something else up, but I'll just tell you my take on the movie. It doesn't mean that it's what Christopher Nolan meant for his take to be, but this is my take on the movie. And so the red and the blue is displayed throughout the whole movie. On Kat, her clothes are red and her clothes are blue quite a bit. And so that shows that throughout the movie she's moving forward and backward in time. And so she thinks that Kenneth Branagh is having an affair on her because she sees somebody dive off, which is her at the end of the movie. She's the one diving off. So she thinks that his mistress, and that's what caused a lot of friction between them, and the fact he is who he is, and he's basically holding her hostage with that painting, and all the implications that go with that. So at the beginning of the movie, when they're at the opera house or orchestra or wherever that is, I don't know if you guys realized, but that string,
The keychain.
Yeah, the keychain, on the backpack or whatever. That's Robert Pattinson. So he helps him out. He helps the protagonist, is the name of Mr. Washington's character, and he helps him out. So then later on in the movie, the two of them meet up without having seen eye to eye before, without some kind of helmet on or something. And he's like, "Hey, you want a Diet Coke?" He's like, "I prefer club soda." He's like, "No, you don't," And he knows all these little tidbits about him. He's like, "How do you know this?" He said, "We've known each other for blah blah blah."
No, he doesn't.
Well, he doesn't say that right there, but I'm saying later on he says, "We've known each other for a long time." So those little droppings are everywhere throughout the movie. So then,
yeah, I mean, picking second screening, I think you pick up a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I picked up on that in the moment. I was like, "Oh, well, he's going to know him at the end of the movie. It's going to be revealed."
So then
he's like
Pattinson, is actually the protagonist, kind of like protege, if you want to say. He's one of his trained folks, and the protagonist is actually the protagonist. He is in control of the whole story. It's almost like a lucid dream. It's not a dream, but I'm saying it's almost like a lucid dream where you can control everything in a lucid dream. So whenever Kat has her son named Max, she is very protective of her son Max. She wants to see him, and the husband won't let her, and things of that nature. So I think, personally, at the end of the movie, whenever the protagonist is in the car with the older lady, I forget her character's name, the arms
Priya.
dealer. Yeah.
Priya.
He has to off her because she was working for him the whole time. He was in control of her, and then she got out of line, come to find out, is the way I looked at that. And he's looking through her windshield at Kat and Max. So this is where I texted you guys earlier and said I'm going to have a theory that is just weird, but this is my theory. I think that Max is actually Neil, Robert Pattinson. I think that the son is why he was so protective of Kat and things of that nature. I think that Neil is there because he's very protective of Kat. Like whenever they get out and they do the surgery and have to do all that with the bullet and stuff. And if you notice, they have kind of like the similar hair and stuff like that, So I think that he's under the name of Neil to protect everybody from knowing what's happening. And then he's kind of like the guardian angel of the whole story, Neil.
I saw some stuff online about this where his name's Max, so his full name could be Maximilian.
Oh, I don't know.
Is inverted at the end of that name, but the guy would have had to be living inverted for over 20 years to get to that point.
But I mean,
it just seems so. I don't know.
I don't think it's a far-fetched theory, but I also feel like if that was a real thing, Nolan would have played more into it.
Could not resist that mic drop for sure.
He likes to hint a lot heavier than just because I didn't even, and again, you could say, well, you didn't get the movie, period. But I'm
not gonna say that.
I feel like I never felt like Neil's character was super interested in Kat, had any connection to Kat. But that was just me. I honestly didn't even feel like the protagonist. I feel like it was very rushed how much he was so involved.
Yeah, I
with
I was
her
weirded out
safety and
by that until the end.
I also explain this to me. What is the deal with the painting? That's how is he holding that over her head? That it's a fake? That it's what is her husband?
So
Andre.
She is. Yeah, so it's a fake. It's a forgery, and so the way I understood it was that she is a kind of a big to-do in the art world, and it could incriminate her. I don't know if there's legal implication or if it's just pride or what, but it basically will ruin her life. And so she's like sitting there saying, like, I even thought about letting him just have, like, for a split second, thought about just letting him have Max and walking away just so I could be out from underneath this.
Yeah, I didn't get the. I'm with you on that too, Brandon. That's one of those things too where it was a little lost on me. Where
I just didn't.
I got the concept.
I didn't
where,
think
like,
it
yeah,
was.
she's being blackmailed by this, but I don't know why.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you clearly why.
Well, I mean,
it seems like they just use it as an excuse for them to have a reason to get in that vault. And then once they get in there, it unfolds the deeper story with the turnstiles, the time turnstiles, and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the whole, like, the way using that as, like, I guess the MacGuffin or whatever for them to get in there was just like, okay, whatever, I guess. I mean, I'll buy it, but it just didn't.
I don't buy it.
So I personally, I'll probably see this a second time. I don't know if it'll be in the theater. I don't know if it'll be at home. I don't know at this point, but
mine will definitely be at home because I want to be able to rewind,
take notes,
and
put subtitles on.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand.
I don't know. It's just some of those, like, it wouldn't hurt to be able to watch that last scene.
Brian's gonna have his college textbooks out.
I just want. So here's the thing. Like, I don't know if y'all have looked up, like, timeline graphics of this movie.
No.
Yeah.
It is chaos. It is so convoluted. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's like
the ones where they show the character overlap, like, at different points of the movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, just like it's like, it's like that GIF of Charlie from Always Sunny with all the yarn connecting different things.
Yeah,
and it's
Pepe Sylvia.
So
well, that's the thing about me with time travel movies. I really want them to be, like, airtight, and they rarely can be, just because it's a concept that's not possible.
So I kind of enjoyed how this one though, how they didn't necessarily, like, there wasn't really time jumping as much as, like, you're just going in reverse all of a sudden.
Well,
so it kind of took a lot.
There's
of
not
the,
time
like,
jumping, but there technically should be multiple characters, and there should be, like, branching timelines. If you think about, there and paradoxes and, like, all these, like, things that they just kind of, and even in the beginning of the movie, the scientist is like, don't think too hard about this. They do the same thing that they do in Looper, which is like, we could sit here and, like, talk about this until our brains explode, but it's just best just to move on. It's like, well, that's just a very cheap way to say, this doesn't make sense. Just roll with it and feel it, as they say. And I hate when that's it's just a very, I just need it. That's why my brain was hurting so bad after this movie. So I was like, I want this to work.
Katie
on a fundamental level.
Point. We got up this morning and we started working, and I made some comment, and all of a sudden we were in, like, a half-hour conversation about this movie. But she brought up, we were talking about the kind of what you're saying, I don't know, I want to say inconsistencies with how they handle time, but, like, theoretically, if you get, like, Kenneth Branagh's character jumps back in time, lives halfway back to where he jumped, does the same thing and jumps back even further, you technically could have an unlimited number of the same person in the same.
Yeah. Well, they even say not to have physical contact with yourself, or you'll, like, explode or something.
and everybody did have physical. I mean, like, not physical, but they had
skin to. It seemed like it meant, like, skin to skin contact because.
And that early on,
I don't know why that's a thing. Like, why does it even matter if it's skin to skin?
That early
gross.
They
on,
had the suits on, Brandon,
where the like SWAT people or whatever you want to call them, were fighting, where they walk in the room from the trailer where it's like, this hasn't happened yet, and then they start fighting the guy and start shooting the glass, and then Robert Pattinson goes around that corner. I told you guys this last night. Like, I could tell that was one of them. I just didn't know. I thought it was going to be Robert Pattinson seeing Robert Pattinson. I didn't know it was going to be him seeing John David Washington. Yep. So I mean, there were little things that weren't as they weren't as hidden as they usually are in a Christopher Nolan movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't find him. I like it. I like his movies a lot. However, I don't find them difficult. Like I remember when Inception came out, and we touched on this a little bit last night, but I remember when Inception came out and people were going nuts about that movie, and it was a good movie and all, but I didn't find it confusing. And I think that one thing that Christopher Nolan does, he has a very unique way of telling a story, but if you really just put the story in a linear fashion, it's a pretty basic story. It's just that he uses all these sleight of hand type techniques to keep you from seeing exact and putting the puzzle together and foreshadowing too much. So,
see, for Inception, I don't so much remember it being like a confusion thing as much as like mind blown by the concept of like, dream within a dream, like, and the little things that he threw in there where like, I can't remember what they call it in the movie where when you're falling back in the chair, you get that feeling.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a long time, so I don't remember everything about it.
Kick, I think is what they called it.
Kick.
But he has a way of taking like things that people experience like that feeling where like everybody's been in bed like laying there and then all of a sudden like feeling like they're like free falling for a second. He has a way of taking those kind of like not unexplainable but not well understood things that happen with humans and tying them into his stories to give them a little bit more of like an eerie feel to them. And that's how I kind of felt with Inception. I didn't feel like it was like I didn't walk out of that movie confused. I guess.
Yeah, and
I didn't either. I felt like, if anything, I was like, man, that was one of those movies that people say like, a movie that was like, quote unquote life changing or like made you see movies in a different light. Like I thought that was a movie that was like introduced a new way of like storytelling. And I thought it was, I didn't walk away confused, but the good thing about that movie is its mysteries are kind of left like vague enough to where you can kind of make your own mind up. Whereas
even the
this one, there's not really any of that. I mean, I could see like Al's theory about it, but I don't think that was like a very like, that wasn't something that was like teed up like and very obvious for people to be like, oh, what do you think about that?
Well, at the end of the movie, he says he's a very special boy. And so last night when we came out of the theater, my initial thought was, well, did he create the thing? Did he create the
algorithm?
Yeah, algorithm. And then Katie reminded me that it was a woman that created it, a woman scientist. So that made me think, oh yeah, you're right. So that can't be. But the boy had significance. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been there. It wasn't something just to bring the couple.
I'm not saying that your theory doesn't make sense. I mean,
I'm not fighting for it either.
Being a thing.
Yeah.
I just feel like I feel like Nolan would have laid the groundwork a little heavier if that was something that we're supposed to kind of be like, oh yeah, maybe that is but I mean, I'm not saying it's not.
I mean, she was used as like, I guess I didn't see any holes there with his purpose or her purpose, especially towards the end of the movie where like they needed somebody to be with Kenneth Branagh's character. What's his name again?
Sator. Andre Sator.
And she was the only one who could get he's gone back in times or inverted so many times that he understands, like he knows what's happening. And they make that very clear. And this was the only way that they could manipulate him was using his feelings. So that was, and I think they even said that
I didn't understand the whole thing about him. Like, I know that he had like that heart rate monitor thing, and that was supposed to like, if he died, then that like, what did that set off the bomb or
it just
whatever?
Ended the world.
It was a dead man
But-
switch. Yeah.
But the cyanide pill that he was going to kill himself with was the same.
It was the
looked like the
placebo.
exact same pill that
Yeah. Yeah.
John, the protagonist took that didn't kill him. It was a fake.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what?
I don't know. I was kind of wondering about that, or wondering that too when I saw it.
I think well, that's the thing. I think we were supposed to think like he's going to take that pill and not really be dead, but think he's dying and things like that. So I think that was just going to groundswell. But then she pulled the rug out from underneath that and was like, I can't take it anymore. I just want to kill him,
Yeah.
And now I do want to say something about her, Elizabeth Debicki.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I'm not familiar with her. I know that I looked her up today. She's been in like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think, or something like that.
Probably because she's so
She
tall.
is
she can
six-
play
She's
like
like 6'3".
She's like one of the gold. She's like one of the gold people.
She is
like that.
6'3", and but she was great. I thought she was really good and convincing. I thought most people in this were very
She
I thought
reminded- she
everybody-
gave me like a well-acted Bond movie. Or
and
Bond
that's what this movie felt like
villain
to me. I'm
or
glad you said
girl
that.
alive.
This movie felt like a Bond movie, like a twisted Bond movie.
Yeah.
like Connery. I could see like Connery Bond.
Well,
more than-
Nolan is a big lover of Bond, and he's been rumored to be had either wanting to eventually direct a Bond movie, but this seems like his take at a Bond movie. I mean, he's dabbled in espionage and spy stuff before, but this is his seems like a very big swing for him in terms of a spy thriller Bond type movie.
Yeah.
But as far as the actors involved, I agree. I thought everybody was great. I just didn't. I thought John David Washington was probably the weakest link, and he was fine, but he just was lacking in he seemed like he was acting a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like if they would have got, and I haven't seen him in anything else, but I feel like if they would have got a better actor, I mean, even we talked about Chadwick Boseman earlier, but him or a Yahya Abdul-Mateen III, or I don't know. There's so many other actors in his same age range that are just more like a Mahershala Ali or somebody that was just a more established, well-rounded actor that could sell this a little better than he did for me personally. I just felt like he was the weakest link.
Yeah, from the look of it, he's only been in a few
because
movies.
of the pacing. Because of the pacing of this movie, and it's very it moves.
Mhm.
I felt like his energy suited him well for the.
I felt like his
script
action
or-
stuff was good. His physicality was great, but I
yeah,
didn't feel like his acting ability was up to snuff compared to everybody else that was sharing the screen with him personally.
Gotcha. I definitely thought that I can't pronounce her last. Elizabeth Debicki was the best.
Yeah, she jumped off the
actress in
screen,
this film.
and she was great.
And Kenneth Branagh, I mean, the guy wants. To
I
be
thought
good,
he
he's
was
gonna be
great.
good.
So
Yeah.
hang on.
I
Let's
thought he was
talk
great.
about him for just a second, because the trailers that we saw before this movie had that movie that I know that I think Brandon, you're interested. I think Ryan, maybe you're interested in seeing that Exit of the Nile or whatever that movie is with Bernal with the funny mustache.
I'm not I haven't seen. I just sent y'all the trailer
Yeah.
that day because it was a new trailer. I don't have necessarily an interest in seeing it, but
So he looks.
I didn't see the first one.
He looks like he's awful in that movie. It looks like he's just absolutely awful.
Did you see? Yeah. Did
Wait.
you see the train? I can't. I believe I'm forgetting.
Murder
the
on the
name.
Orient Express.
Murder on the
I did
Orient
not.
Express. It's the same character. This is a follow up.
Oh, is it?
Um,
Didn't that movie?
This could be an instance of, because he directed that movie, he directed this new movie. It could be an instance where maybe he just didn't direct himself well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's what you're seeing as far as his acting ability.
Well,
But
he's
He also is really just playing a kind of over the top
yeah.
Bond villain.
character.
Yeah, he's a serviceable
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, he's just a jerk in this movie. He's an overall just.
I mean, dude, the moments when he gets the scene where she pulls a gun on him and
He says, "I don't
he,
see."
knocks her and spits
Yeah.
on her. I mean,
He's pretty angry.
He felt
He's
that.
pretty
yeah.
angry. They had a discussion that day that didn't go well. Yeah, no, I thought he was serviceable for sure. Robert Pattinson, I thought was good. He was like the foil almost. He was like the jester. Like he had these slight little jokes in there every once in a while, and so it was good to see him.
So I know you, Al, you've seen The Lighthouse. I've not seen that. The only thing I've actually really seen him in, other than like Harry Potter or whatever, was Remember Me, and I loved him in that movie. That was like the 9/11.
So
that was a 9/11 story, and
did you see Good Time?
Watching him in this,
did you see Good Time?
Mm-mm.
That was okay.
I just don't have a lot of exposure to his body work, but
to his body.
Watching.
He has exposure to his ankles. He loves his ankles.
His ankles?
Yeah.
All right.
We don't have to get into that.
Yeah. There were a couple scenes in here where, and I don't know how you feel about this, Brandon, but I was like, okay, his Bruce Wayne's going to be pretty cool.
I could see Bruce Wayne.
Batman.
Yeah. As long as he deepens his voice.
I've never doubted his ability to perform in terms of like, his acting ability as far as the Batman type stuff. That's not our issue. We don't have to go into that. Let's move away from Batman.
So, I enjoyed him. I like I said, I have enjoyed what he's done with his career of late, and Good Time.
You look like a Twilight fan.
Yeah, Good Time was a really good movie. So if anybody wants some more Robert Pattinson vehicles, I'd suggest go see that. It's the same. Brandon, who are the brothers that made Uncut Gems?
Safdie. I know what it is now.
What's going on here?
Oh boy. So
I called them the Duplass brothers. There's a lot of brothers in Hollywood. All right, I called them the wrong name one day. Sue me. Sorry.
You're on a movie podcast. So
yeah, you're on a movie podcast, Brandon.
So yeah, no, that's a really good.
I just felt like everybody knew that John David Washington was Denzel's son. I mean,
yeah. Well, they have. They have a similar. They have a similar cadence.
Yeah, there were some lines that he was delivering. I was like, I could totally hear his dad in his voice right here saying this line.
See, I don't know. Like maybe knowing it if I watch it.
It's really. I don't know why this jumps out, but it's really the words with S's in them. I don't know, something about the way they say S's and their mouths, like the way they form their mouths when they say certain words. Because Denzel Washington really enunciates like crazy. Sure. But I will say that I think this movie was fun. I don't know where I would put it in the gambit of movies from Christopher Nolan at this point. I tell you what, folks, please leave down in the comments or on social or whatever if you would like for us to do a countdown of our favorite, like in order, our personal favorites of Christopher Nolan, and then we can start that conversation. So we'll be glad to do that episode if you guys to
steal Brandon's joke, our top TENET.
Yeah.
It's true, because he has 10 movies now.
Yeah.
See what you did there.
Yeah.
He's so smart.
So, guys, is there anything else that you really want to touch on for this movie?
Yeah. Can we just walk through the entire movie beat by beat and explain it?
Well, that's one thing that I will say is, first off, get out there and see it. It's worth seeing, and if you have the ability to see it in IMAX, it's definitely worth doing that. And it's a cool, if you love movies and like us have not been able to go to theaters for the last 6 months or whatever, there were a couple moments in this movie where I was like, this is a spectacle. So it's worth it. And I
sometimes
think for me,
unnecessarily, like the sailboat scene was a little like I feel I thought it was like what are we doing?
Oh, we're forgetting our favorite. We're forgetting the best part of this movie, the score.
Oh,
the score was good.
Ludwig Göransson also scored The Mandalorian.
Did The Mandalorian?
Yeah. He is.
Didn't use Hans this time because Hans was doing Dune, so they got this guy.
And we saw the Han. We saw the Han. We saw the Dune teaser last night as well. Not that it.
I'm so pumped about that movie.
I'm pumped about it, but that teaser didn't do anything for me. Not because it was bad or anything. It's just like it didn't give me anything. It was just like, this is who's in the movie.
Well, it was.
That's what
it
I-
was
that's
really.
what I want
It was a
in
teaser
trailers.
for the
It was
trailer.
a trailer for a trailer. So,
I think
still.
trailers could use more of that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to see I don't want to see the story. There was a trailer right before that where I leaned over at Brandon. I don't even remember what it was for. I leaned over to Brandon and I was
kissed him on the
like,
cheek.
this is the most disjointed thing I've ever seen in my life.
So,
Yeah.
one thing about
Yeah.
we'll get back to the score in just a second, but the one thing about this movie, I only saw the one trailer for Tenet. Didn't once I knew I was going to go see this movie, it wasn't like I needed any more convincing.
I was the same with this.
I'm not a big person on the trailer. I want to go in blind or whatever for a lot of movies because I don't know. I kind of have like a witness protection program in my brain. I just kind of forget trailers. I just know I'm pumped about it,
Sure.
But this movie, I was noticing last night that not too many spoilers in the trailer. I mean, they did a pretty good job of, they didn't really give a, like, you didn't see the final shot in the trailer like some.
Even the dialogue they pull in the trailers was not really like relevant dialogue in the movie. It was just
Right. I wish those studio heads would get out of the trailer parks and
Well,
let
I
them
think
make
it's.
some good stuff.
I think they can kind of lean into the mystique of a movie like this with somebody like Nolan attached to it.
Sure.
They don't have to sell it as much.
Well, also he
But
probably muscles them into not telling too much.
oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean,
If there's one
that's
director
why
who
that's
can
why
pull
it's
it
in
now.
theaters right now.
He's
It's because he muscled
he's
that
got
into
that.
existence.
He's got that cachet now. So, back to the score. I thought that was the best part of the movie, personally. I mean, not to say that the movie was bad. I'm just saying that score was great, and I think I even said this last night. It felt like somebody was trying to do not in a bad way, but like tip their hat to, I should say, to like a Trent Reznor and a Hans Zimmer. So it just kind of meshed well together. And I'm a big Nine Inch Nails fan, so I appreciate that. And we all went and saw Hans Zimmer live back, a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that.
One of the coolest concerts.
It was
I've
very-
ever been
it was
to,
very, very
surprisingly.
cool.
You wouldn't think it, but
And one thing I thought about last night was how cool would it be to see this live,
one thing that I love about his, and Zimmer does this in a lot of the Nolan movies as well. Like, there's a way of like, if he's got an upbeat scene, he has a way of using the score to like really emphasize that, like like they do it in The Dark Knight on the like bank robbery scenes, and I just love how like simple the music can be and powerful at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very driving score.
Yeah.
But I mean that's a staple, like a stopwatch type sound. It's like it's become like a very like signature type thing for Nolan.
Yeah, that.
Here's a question. Another story question.
Okay.
So
I didn't get this movie. Explain it to me.
So
Stay tuned for part 2.
I mean, seriously. So Cat gets shot with an inverted bullet,
Right.
and they say that's like you can't heal an inverted gunshot or something. But then somehow they do, and they don't ever explain how they do it.
They inverted,
did y'all like?
They inverted time, so therefore the bullet was no longer inverted, is the way I got it. It was just a regular bullet.
So, yeah, the way I took it was the reason that she couldn't heal from an inverted bullet was because of the radiation of the bullet. That's what I understood.
When they took her, so they were in the blue room again with the color blue and red. They were in the blue room and took her to the red room, or vice versa, whichever. And on the other side of the glass. So the way I saw it was, like Ryan's saying, the radiation and everything. But that's why they were really pressing forward, like we have to do the X, Y, and Z, before this happens. So got over there on the other side of the glass, and that's why there was such a hurry to do it. So they inverted time, and therefore the way I saw it was that the shot was just a regular shot because the time offset the inversion of the bullet, is the way I saw it.
I mean, that makes sense.
I do watch Criterion. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm probably dead wrong. I'm sure people will scream at us.
I don't know. I haven't seen an answer on it online. I've looked for it, but I was just I guess reasoning, like just reasoning in a way, was just that because they started going backwards in time, that she was just able to heal because they were going in reverse. I don't know.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about. Like that's why she healed. Like that's why they had to wait a certain amount of time. But the reason that they talk about inverted bullets being so lethal is because of the radiation.
And one of those rules that they don't follow, I won't say they don't follow, but it's a nitpick what I'm about to say. But this is what this drives me crazy. They're like, you got to have the oxygen mask on. You got to have the oxygen mask on. And
the bubble.
And then
she never had one on.
She never.
Ever.
That's because she was in the bubble.
She never did. But whenever they were going in that zip-up bubble,
so that's the reason they were in those plastic rooms.
With they had oxygen pumping in there. So, but
she was on the boat at the end.
Yeah, well, she was going forward.
Yeah, she was going forward at that point.
Okay.
I give up, guys. So I'm going home. I am home. So I think that it was annoying to see. This is just so silly and nitpicky, but they would take their mask off and then zip up the tent. And I was like, oh. It's just like, that's so annoying. It was so annoying to me. It was like,
so and maybe I missed the line of dialogue that explains this away. I'm sure I did. The goal of them getting the pieces of the algorithm, or however, just these big discs or whatever. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but whatever, I'll buy it. Them getting that stuff and separating it so that it's never invented, but if it's never invented, then none of this can take place.
So let me put it in terms that you'll understand, Brandon. It's like Thanos. And he has to have those little stones in his bedazzled fisticuff or whatever that thing, like his little glove.
Yes, keep explaining this to me.
So it's the same thing, though. Each piece is the stone. So if one person has,
I understand, but you're missing my whole question.
Yep.
I understand how it works when it's together. I'm saying if they separate it so that nobody can invent inversion, then none of this movie takes place. Period.
I don't think that they're doing it so they can't invent inversion. I think they're doing it so that nobody does what Kenneth Branagh was trying to do.
No, what? Yeah. Again. Well, also what they're saying is that inversion was invented. The algorithm is what controls the inversion. So, in the future, somebody sent this back. So therefore, it's been there the whole time. Not so. If you look at it in the loop of everything backwards and forwards.
Brandon's face.
But there had to be a plane of existence where it didn't exist, because if they were existing in a reality where there was no inversion, and they got to a future and then sent it back, like that.
And you don't question Zack Snyder movies
because they're airtight.
No, they are not.
Airtight, baby.
Story. So
they're airtight.
So
you're gonna make me cuss on this podcast. You keep talking.
Family friendly. Let's simmer down, boys.
Is this made for kids? No. No. So it was sent back in time. I get what you're saying. There are definitely holes in the theories. It's not airtight. Like you said in the beginning, it is very difficult. Good movies like Back to the Future that are pretty good on their keeping the rules of their, we'll say the original and the first two Back to the Future movies of their time travel and things like that. They keep their rules pretty, I would say, pretty fluid throughout those two movies. Third one, they just go off the rails. So, but there's still holes in there. You can go and pick that apart. I agree. So you can pick this apart, and rightfully so, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. But I think that the fact that there's I don't want to say confusion, but there's more questions than there are answers after your first viewing. I think
there's more questions, but there's also more frustration with trying to, because when I try and like make it make sense, and just in a quote unquote realistic way, it hurts my brain. I was laying in bed last night, like thinking about this movie. I was like, and my head was literally pounding, just trying to wrap, or just like make it make sense.
Hallelujah! Where's the Tylenol?
Yeah. I slept like a baby last night. I was like, I get it.
I just couldn't turn off.
I get it.
I need it to work. I need it to work for me to really enjoy it. I can't just be like, well, I know. I can't go on the whole logic of don't think about it, because this doesn't work. If you start your movie off saying don't think about this, then you already are
I'm
like,
not saying
you
don't
lost
think
me.
about it. All I'm saying is you're going to find holes.
I'm not saying you're saying. I'm saying they say it in the movie, like literally.
I'm going to get my inversion.
I think too, like it was probably probably used as a way to kind of push John David Washington's character like out the door, instead of him trying to like sit there and comprehend all these complex ideas.
He glosses over the whole idea of inversion so quickly. He just buys into it.
Well, that's
directly.
what he says. Like that's what I think they did it on purpose. Like he even says, like,
I know, but I'm saying
it's instinct.
Sloppy. It's sloppy to just be like, just buy this, just go with it. We're glossing over it. We're running past it.
It baffles me. I understand questioning. I think you should question this.
I think do I agree with Al right now?
Oh my gosh.
What's this feeling?
Again, I'm not saying I didn't like it. I did like it.
Yourself.
I want it to make sense with the rules that they establish. And here's the thing. I think it could make sense, but it's very even like I was saying, looking at like the diagram of the timelines that people have created for how this actually works out. It's like, this is way more elaborate.
I haven't seen one of these diagrams yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you, and you're gonna be like, it's like I sent one of them to Ryan, and this isn't the most elaborate one. This goes into like much more detail, the one that I discovered today. But I was just like, I don't think anybody could catch this in one viewing. There's no way.
Do you think he does that though? I feel like Nolan wants you to see it more than once.
No. Yeah, and I agree.
It's exactly how he gets you to see it more than once. It's
and I want to see it again. I'm not like
money.
I'm not just saying like this movie's terrible, you shouldn't watch it. I think it's a good movie. I want it to make sense for myself so that I can
sleep again.
Yeah.
So,
I would love to.
My wife's telling me stop talking about it. So I think it is worth a second viewing. And
yeah, one thing I don't want to get lost on our viewers is like we're sitting here critiquing this movie and we're talking about it passionately, and we like some things, we don't like some things, but the dialogue that we're having means it's a good movie.
Yeah. This is what movies are supposed to do.
That's
right.
It's why they continue to write articles about Batman v Superman every day, because it creates conversation.
People have nothing
and
better to do
want
in
to talk about it.
quarantine.
And Al's going to say something really snarky and narcissistic, but I'm just going to keep talking so he can't say anything bad
You're
about my beloved
filibustering
BBS.
our podcast. So stupid.
Oh, man.
So
Those audience retention numbers are going to plummet.
yeah. Oh my gosh, these guys are great. They hate each other. We actually care greatly for one another.
But no, I would love for us to like have a second viewing and then
Field
do
trip.
another like another recap of it to see how a second viewing
See if Brandon gets it.
changes for me specifically, and I will need subtitles.
So hang on. This is what we're gonna do.
That is a
this is what
must.
we're gonna do. And again, down in the comments.
Go head up to the I'm gonna go head up to the projection
Yeah.
booth real quick.
Yeah, just hold up cells of the words. If you guys want to see this, just let me know. But Ryan, I think you and we should all go see it a second time. If we can find a hearing impaired viewing, let's go see that. We'll go see it, and then we won't even share our opinions of it. We'll just interview Brandon on the second viewing. I think. And I want everybody to put down in the comments also if you had a hard time following this movie or not. I want to know.
Yeah, it's a good question. Gauge.
I want to know because,
audience.
but Brandon, I don't think you're going to be in the minority of people. I don't think that I understand it fully. I think that I wasn't confused at all. It was a pretty straightforward story. It's just that he used so many, like you're saying, he wants you to see it again. So he puts so many of these different sleight of hand in there.
I understand what they say is happening, but I want it to make sense. I want to see, okay, yes, that does work out, not because you just told me that's what happened. I want it to make sense.
I think the best sleight of hand that they did in this movie was when the Priya lady was the put upon wife at first when he got there.
Yeah.
And tried to grill the guy about the guns dealer the arms dealer, and she turns to be the boss. So
sure.
what we thought was the boss at the time. So anyway, guys,
John David Washington, sexist. You automatically assumed the guy was the boss. Don't do that. Don't do that, guys. It's going to come back to bite you.
Canceled.
Just like JDW.
JDW. JD Dubs.
J-Dub.
Yeah, so.
No, I got lots of questions, obviously, but
so
I think
gonna set up therapy.
I honestly do think that's that's the mark of a movie that asks questions like that. Is
Brandon's gonna go watch Batman vs Superman just to calm himself down for bed tonight. It's like,
hey,
I get it, Zack Snyder. You put it all on a plate for me.
You can say that if you want
Al.
to, but I think it's the opposite.
Yeah,
So
we don't need to get into
move
that.
on.
Heady. So anyway, I think we should.
You're wrong, Leonidas. You are wrong.
All right. So
Speaking of Snyder,
guys, I think there's only one more.
oh, Daddy's cracking the whip. Sorry.
There's only one more way to go. One more question to ask about this, unless there's anything else you want to add. Is this
Nope, fire away.
is this a buy, a sell?
Well,
a skip?
I think you can't buy it yet.
We're saying overall, Brandon.
watch it,
Jeez.
wait for it, or skip it. I put it in the liner notes. Just read it. You just got to read the prompter, bro.
Al just likes to go. He likes to go wild card.
I'm rogue.
I know. Wild card, baby.
That was a good censored version of that.
Yeah.
So
Watch it, wait for it, skip it. Now you can say it.
buy it, skip it. What would you
All
do,
right,
Ryan?
I'm just gonna say, I would say, go see it and then buy it when it comes out on physical.
With subtitles.
Especially if you've
With subtitles.
Yeah. Especially if you're a Christopher Nolan fan, it's a must-watch, and it's got rewatch value too. So I'll definitely be buying.
Okay.
UHD, baby.
Be Randon.
Yeah. Do that. Do what Ryan said.
All right.
But just make sure you got subtitles.
They do if you buy it.
There you go.
So, I would buy it. I own most of.
Make sure your subtitles aren't British.
Jeez. To our British watchers, viewers, and listeners,
I think we've got one international view so far, and it's in Germany. So we should.
Ryan and I don't have any issues.
I thought it was New Zealand.
We did have one.
It's
yeah.
just Chris using a VPN.
Europe. Yeah, you're right.
We did have but yeah. So I would buy as well, and I think it's worth a couple viewings. But I think it is a movie that is a little more fun to watch with people than it. I mean, it'd be a good watch by yourself, I'm sure, but
If you've got somebody to talk to, about
you're
going to
want to talk
it's
about
gonna be
this
a lot more
movie. Is my
enjoyable.
point.
Yeah.
So yeah, just let us know what you thought about it, and again, share, like, subscribe, and
Hit us up on social.
yeah, and
Let's talk. Let's talk
let's have
tennis.
some conversation. So we're gonna end this special episode here. Thanks for tuning in to CiNEMACHiNE, and we'll see you all later in the week with the Gentleman review by your
That's right.
vote. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Ryan and Brandon, it's been fun. It was fun going to the theater, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of CiNEMACHiNE.
Bye.
Bye bye.